Back one more time in studio with John Punchon to talk horror movies, and we're going to go with one more cult classic, which all of my friends who are big into horror all love this movie. So
Yes.
Trick or Treat.
I think it's a great film, and it's one that a lot of people haven't heard of, which is really too bad. It's got it runs not even an hour and a half, but it's a horror anthology. Actually, one of our staff at the SPCA is dressed as one of the characters in there this year, which is really funny because it's one of her favorites too. It's got a really great anthology. It's funny, it's creepy, it's a bit gory. But lots of fun, and it happens all on Halloween night. All the stories are very neatly tied together, and it's actually produced by Bryan Singer. It's got actually some of the cast from the X-Men movies, so Anna Paquin's in it,
Right.
and Brian Cox is in it as well, playing a sort of grumpy hermit. And it's one that if you can ever find it in a bargain bin, or for a little while it wasn't on DVD and then was re-released. So if you ever find it, it's worth picking up because it's a classic and definitely gets you in the Halloween spirit.
Yeah, this one I should check out, even though I'm not great with horror movies because he gets scared so easily. I do love Brian Cox. He's an underrated actor. Go look up Brian Cox on IMDb. I guarantee you all of you have seen him in at least one movie where you loved him.
Absolutely.
We're going to finish, though, with, again, a classic. Some people dub as one of the 3 best horror films of all time.
Yep.
You don't necessarily agree, but it certainly had an influence on the genre, and that is John Carpenter's Halloween.
Great score. I think the score is probably my favorite part of that movie. I think one of the ones that you have to include on a list of the evolution of horror films, because it really kicked off the sort of slasher type films, although technically Bob Clark's Black Christmas was that sort of first stalking killer.
And technically you could call Psycho a slasher loosely.
Yeah, for sure. And there's definitely some merit to it. But yeah, like you started to see that come to terms. But Halloween was sort of that one that really kicked off that sort of pivotal horror character. Not one of my absolute favorites, but I do appreciate it. Definitely one that's worth a view if people haven't seen it.
Yeah, and definitely has one of the most iconic horror characters of all time. You could argue that's the most iconic horror movie mask in terms of the Michael Myers mask.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Which is actually, as probably is common knowledge now, was actually William Shatner from Star Trek. That was actually his face and was made white. But other than that, was pretty much his mask. So,
right.
Yeah, a few little changes with the eye holes and things, but in essence, yeah.
I'm sure something that William Shatner is very proud of.
Yes.
And obviously you've seen the remake, or loose, I guess it's not technically a remake, but actually meant to be a sequel, though it's remaking elements of it come out to very good box office fanfare recently.
Yes.
Is it safe to say that nostalgia is a real key in kind of horror, because it's a big run of horror over the last 5-6 years?
Yeah, well, I think horror's always been there, and it sort of has cycles, just like any genre does. The new one's interesting, and I'm a bit taken back actually by its success because there's been so many sort of evolution of it. Rob Zombie did remakes of Halloween as well. So it was really interesting to sort of see that this one's popular, but they sort of didn't really continue with any of the storylines of any of the films.
Right, it kind of gets rid of the continuity of all those other ones.
Yeah, it's sort of like, forget about, we're just going to go back. So, which is good. But yeah, definitely an interesting take on it. It's great always to see, like I said, horror doing well at the box office, and certainly not those sort of just traditional jump scare ones, but ones that are paying homage a little bit to the old movies that people love. And yeah, I mean, that's what makes Halloween so fun.
Yeah, and it's been a lot of fun being in studio with you, John.
Yep.
And I think this is the last time we'll get to talk about Halloween movies, unfortunately. So as much as I don't miss watching horror movies on screen, I'll miss talking to you about
it's been a pleasure.
Halloween movies. So for those you go check out some of these classics and cult classics that he mentioned here for your Halloween, and we'll be back in studio with more.